I don't mean to skip straight to the post-credits scene, but come on, guys. Steve and Peggy with the music and the romance in another universe, and he's back. It's so sweet. What is up, Fleek fans? Welcome back to my channel. The season finale of What If is finally here, and so are the Guardians of the Multiverse. Come on. Today we're going to talk about this episode. What the heck went down? Which episodes did they reference? All of them, but which parts of each episode? We're going to talk about all of this. I need you guys down below. Did you enjoy this season finale? And if you like this video, be sure to let me know. Drop your thumbs up. Let's get into it. So, what if the Watcher broke his oath not to intervene, as he has said throughout every episode? Well, guess what? He's going to ditch that in this episode because the world, well, the multiverse needs a Guardians of the Multiverse. Think Guardians of the Galaxy, but obviously more important because we are dealing with something that we have never seen before, and that is Ultron in the body of Vision. And we saw in last week's episode how he just went crazy and somehow managed to sense the presence of the Watcher, actually find the Watcher, and force him to take drastic measures. In comes Doctor Strange Supreme, our version of Doctor Strange that we saw in his episode, and he is of the mindset that he should not intervene with something like this, but the Watcher says, you know what, we have to gather together all of the chosen heroes of the multiverse. Now, how did he go about choosing these heroes? Well, it's basically, which episodes did you guys see in Season 1? Those are the heroes that we are retrieving. And I did question the choice of someone like this version of Killmonger. Why this version of Killmonger? Because we see eventually what he tries to do and does. And the Watcher actually says towards the end of the episode, this is something that I saw coming. Well, why'd you choose him in the first place? Regardless, it was a very interesting combination, and as we go through each of the episode universes that we have seen, we gather our heroes, and that includes the Watcher himself, Doctor Strange Supreme, our boy, Dude Thor, T'Challa, aka his version of Star-Lord, Captain Carter, Gamora, Killmonger, and eventually we retrieve the Black Widow from the universe that we saw in the previous episode, What If Ultron ended up winning. So all of these characters with drastically different personalities, they have to come together with the plan fairly quickly, and once they get together, and the way that they were retrieved from their selective universes was so fascinating. We start with Captain Carter. She's being pulled from her universe in the midst of her version of Captain America, the Winter Soldier. We see she is about to take on Batroc, and this is around the point at the beginning of the Winter Soldier that we saw her interactions with Nat, very similar to that of her and Steve, but this time, of course, it is Captain Carter, and she is pulled directly from that point. Now we see, and we'll go ahead and talk about the post-credit scene, that Nat was about to show her something very different than we got in the Winter Soldier. We see that she was heading to see Steve Rogers, who was apparently still in the suit. So that's going to be fascinating to see how that plays out in a future episode of What If. But then we go into the other universes. Of course, T'Challa picking up where we left off in his episode, saving that version of Peter Quill, in which we later see him learning how to shoot one of Star-Lord's guns. So it looks like Peter Quill may somehow play into this universe eventually. Then we have Thor, and he's not paying attention. The Watcher's like, hey, Thor, what's going on, buddy? And eventually he sees him, literally gets pulled out of existence. Of course, Killmonger, who is running from their versions of Shuri, and it looks like Pepper there because, of course, he murdered Tony Stark. And then we have Gamora, and Tony Stark is watching Thanos' Infinity Gauntlet slowly submerge into the fire. And of course, Tony Stark's like, listen, we need a suit of armor around the universes. You never know what kind of other villain is lurking in the shadows. And then sure enough, she sees the Watcher saying, hey, Gamora, not you, Tony Stark. We don't need you. We need Gamora. Poor Tony Stark. He's gotten the short end of the stick the entire series. Feel bad for him. But once they come together and we see their interactions, of course, Thor is being this version of Thor, acting silly, acting dumb, but the location in which the Watcher recreates for them, you woke up and you chose violence, didn't you, Watcher? Poor Captain Carter having to meet at that bar that is oh so recognizable, and even featuring a picture of old Steve Rogers. And of course, we got the Steve Rogers Easter egg last week where he's president in that universe. At least he was going to be president in that universe. So fascinating to see all of these different characters playing different roles in all of these universes. But, of course, they have to come together and devise a plan to take on Ultron. And once Thor shoots that lightning, Ultron figures out, hey, there you are. So, of course, the Guardians of the Multiverse have to come together and fight this battle, each of them bringing something different to the table, but Doctor Strange probably being the one that is the most powerful of sorts. And they take every precaution necessary because, of course, this is a villain who can basically do anything, wielding the power of the Infinity Stone. So Doctor Strange creates a protection spell around them so they're even more powerful, but they also won't die immediately. And that's very important for someone like a Black Widow, who is, of course, a survivor. She says the last one on her world, but at the same time, once they meet up with her, when they go to this universe. And of course, you can't forget utilizing all of the zombies, really the only episode that we have yet to hit on in this episode to this point, to help fight this version of Ultron. And of course, Zombie Wanda, she returns to die fairly quickly. See you, zombies. Bye-bye. So Ultron comes in and battles this version of the Guardians, and of course, he almost gets his hand on the Mind Stone at a point until Doctor Strange goes full Sorcerer Supreme, whips out those tentacles, that sounded a little weird, and does everything he can to keep Ultron from becoming even more powerful than he already is. I can't get over how powerful this version of Doctor Strange is, like eating Infinity Stones, doing some crazy things in this episode. And when it looks like the team is about to lose, he always comes in clutch. But the real mission here is for Black Widow to use this arrow that, of course, they were going after in the previous episode to infect this version of Ultron with Arnim Zola. And it's so cool to see Zola back being utilized as a virus, but how in the world are they going to get this into Ultron? Of course, they have to make him defenseless at a point. So everybody's using their powers, from Doctor Strange to Captain Carter, jumping and ripping off his helmet. And then finally the arrow goes straight into his eye, and Arnim Zola basically takes out that version of Ultron. But it's not over, because again, you're going to bring in this version of Killmonger, you are going to suffer the consequences. And basically, that's exactly what happened. Killmonger says, you know what, we can right the wrongs of our universe. The Watcher just stands by and watches. How'd you know that? It's in the name. While everything bad happens to us. So he's going to use the Infinity Stones for himself. But then Zola comes out and says, you know what? I'm going to use them for myself. So it's a battle over the Infinity Stones after Ultron is defeated, and it's a cycle that is never going to end. Doctor Strange knows this. The Watcher knows this. So the Watcher and Strange trap them into this multiversal bubble that this version of Stephen Strange has to look after to maintain the order over the multiverse. And thus, this team, the Guardians, they come together and manage to take down the massive threat, something that was threatening to take down not only all of these multiverses, but eventually into the universe that we know and love as the MCU, or our version of the MCU. I think the best moment for me in this episode was just getting to see Doctor Strange and what he had to go through in his episode, but ending up, not only almost leading this team right, but doing something good that means a lot. And the Watcher says it right. No one in your universe is going to know that this happened, but it happened nonetheless. Doctor Strange knows that. He was able to be part of this team, and that was so cool to see. And at a point at the end of the episode, Captain Carter says, I feel like I could go back to a time where I would be the most happy, but of course the Watcher says, they need you, Captain Carter. So where does Black Widow go from here, right? No one is left on her Earth, so she really wants things to change for her, even though the Watcher says, you know what, I can't do that, but I'm going to do it anyway. And the Watcher, of course, takes her to the universe in which Black Widow is no more, and we see that Loki's army and Loki himself attacking Nick Fury and a couple of our heroes on the helicarrier, and in comes another version of Black Widow, and of course Nick Fury's like, you're not my version, but hey, we'll take your help. was a little quick. But at the same time, it was nice to see her feel that sense of belonging somewhere. Of course, we've already talked about the post-credit scene. This was a very cool episode that I believe meant a lot for the heroes that we were able to see. And at the same time, I feel like, again, one of the complaints that I've had for a lot of the episodes is it did move a bit quick, right? And they did try to fit a lot in an episode, but just to see the Guardians of the Multiverse together, setting things up for a potential Season 2, and what a way for this version of T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman's, I believe to be his final performance, what a way for him to just go out on such a high note as this character, and it's so cool to see, and I can't wait to see what other versions of the Guardians of the Multiverse is to come, and what carries over into the live-action universe, because you know, the Watcher, in my opinion, is definitely going to be in the live-action movies at a point. I would say Multiverse of Madness, but I also have a feeling we're going to get a cameo from a live-action Captain Carter, from a live-action version of maybe one or two of these characters, maybe even this version of Doctor Strange. Maybe Doctor Strange meets Doctor Strange. I think that would be super cool. But what was your favorite part of this episode? Was it cool seeing all of the characters from their individual episodes come together? And which character was your favorite in this episode? If I had to choose, I would say the Sorcerer Supreme, just because what he managed to do. But I also love Nat and Captain Carter's relationship in her universe, and the multiversal versions of those characters. Thank you guys so much for watching. Would you like to see me rank all of the episodes of What If? I think that would be a super fun video, only if you guys want to see that on this channel. If you do, drop your thumbs up down below. Appreciate you big time for watching. I'll see you soon.